Can you get great recordings at home with subpar gear? Maybe. Maybe you're in a metal band and you're committed to recording guitar with real amps. Cool. But what if your amp doesn't sound great? Or what if you have a great amp, but a limited selection of microphones to capture that amp? Are you doomed to a poor guitar tone? There's an old saying, it's not the gear, it's the ear. Sure, having great quality equipment can help. But if you don't know how to use that equipment, or you don't know what you're listening for, it really doesn't matter. I've logged tens of thousands of hours working on music. Between drums, guitars, bass, and vocals, I've listened to a lot of audio. And in that time, I've worked with some pretty terrible equipment. But the more reps I've gotten under my belt, the more I've learned to make the most out of the equipment that I have. These days, I'm working with much better tools. But what if I couldn't? Could I still deliver? Let's find out. Today, I'm revisiting my roots. This is the Peavey Rage. I got it for my 13th birthday. And yes, I still have it. And today, I'm going to use this amp to dial in a guitar tone in a modern metal mix. So let's see if the Peavey Rage can rage. Welcome back to the Riff Haven Audio Podcast. I'm Dan Ferguson, engineer, producer, and owner of Riff Haven Audio here in Long Island, New York. If you're new here, this is a channel that provides reliable information for bands that are looking to grow their careers and accomplish their goals. If your band is more than just a hobby, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. I want to see your band grow, and I'm here to help. And also, please feel free to ask questions in the comments. I read them all. Okay, first things first. I want to say that I write these episodes weeks in advance, and I had this idea back in October. And of course, I just saw that Riffs, Beards, and Gear did an episode very similar to this. Damn it. But you know what? I'm doing mine anyway. And if you haven't checked out Fluff's channel, definitely do so. He's a great resource for all things heavy music. His information is thorough and accurate. And no, I don't know him and he doesn't know me, but he has a degree in audio nerd, so definitely go check him out. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to do here. This amp will turn 30 this month. It's the amp I learned how to play guitar on. We had some good times, friend. And today, I'm going to dust it off and see if I can get a good tone out of it. And I'm really going to double down on the lack of good equipment thing here. Not only am I going to use this old 30-watt amp, but I'm going to capture the tone with the worst microphone that I own. This is a Shure BG 1.0. I also got this when I was 13. I'm going to mic this up with no overdrive pedal and do what I can in the computer to make it slam. Here we go. All right, so now that we got that recorded, let's see if we can make this actually sound good. Because right now it does not. Here's what the guitars sound like so far. A lot of problems here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to high pass and low pass this. So normally I high pass guitars around 100 hertz. To make room for the bass. This one's going to be a little bit lower because this was recorded in A. So that fundamental note of the guitar is going to need to be just a little bit lower. Let's try 90, see how that sounds. Closer to 80. And then there's a ton of fizz up here that I want to get rid of. I'm going to get kind of more steep with this curve here. Don't need any of that. Next thing I'm going to introduce here, believe it or not, is an overdrive pedal. So I'm going to use the Nembrini Audio Minotaur pedal. And I know it sounds kind of weird adding more gain to this mess that we have, but this is going to serve to kind of smooth out a lot of the harshness. I'm going to turn the gain way down. Let's see what this sounds like here. I'm going to toggle it on and off. see how it's smoothed out the high end a lot? That's all I wanted out of this pedal. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce some compression. I don't know if you guys know this. If you use Logic, if you hold down Control when you go to add a plugin and you click, you can actually go down where it says this legacy option, and now you have access to all the old plugins from the older versions of Logic. Their new plugins are great, but there's some really good ones in here, and one of them is this silver compressor. So I'm going to introduce kind of a fast attack, fast release. I'm going to go 4-to-1 here, and I'm going to move the threshold down just until we get where we got to go. Now, obviously, there's a big gain jump there. There's no output knob on this plugin, so we're going to fix our gain staging with our next plugin. The next plugin is going to be another instance of Pro Q3. I'm going to high pass this. I'm going to low pass it also. Once again, a little bit more aggressive with the curve. I think we were close to... All right, so now let's get some more EQ. There's a ton of low mid issues here. I hear a little bit of 400, 500, something like that. Already way better. Still got work to do though. I also hear some 750-ish. Apologize if this is killing your ears. All right, next moves. With your guitars, I recommend always checking 2K, 4K, 6K. Those are good starting points for your problematic frequencies for that harsh whistle that you get. And when you do this, try to do it quick. Try not to spend too much time notching out stuff. Find it, move on. Otherwise, you're going to fry your ears, and it's going to be difficult for you to make decisions. So I'm going to check 2K. I'm going to try and do it fast because I don't want to kill your ears. It's probably not going to be pleasant to listen to. You hear when you toggle it on and off, that whistle just kind of goes away. But there is more whistle. Let's check 4K here. Yep, we don't want that. 4K is the devil. On and off. Let's check what 6 sounds like. Let's notch that out. All right, so we got a lot of the bulk of the work done. The next thing I want to do is there's a little palm muty part, and I want to make sure I'm controlling the palm mutes here. You can hear the low end building up every time the palm mute hits, so I'm going to use Pro NB, and it should be around 200 hertz. Fastest attack, fastest release. It's kind of doing what I want it to. Last thing I want to do is I'm going to put in an instance of Saturn here. And no, this is not a FabFilter sponsored video or anything like that. They just happen to make really good plugins. If you've never used Saturn before, it's a saturation plugin, but it's so much more than that. You could split, it's a multi-band saturator, so that's kind of how I'm going to use it here. I don't want to touch the lows. I kind of want to concentrate on the mids here and see if I can just get a little bit of more vibe from the mids. So I'm going to go right in that middle section there. I'm going to try the subtle saturation because I'm not going crazy with this here. So let's get the mid band. So it's got the vibe that I want now, but I want to EQ this and make sure it's not crazy. It's getting a little woofy now. All right, so I'm pretty satisfied with that as in terms of the of just the track. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy all of these settings over to the other guitar. I'm gonna unsolo that. We're gonna hear what this sounds like in the context of the mix, and then we'll start making some changes to our guitar bus here. So here we go. All right, so this is, you know, like I said, every mix is different, but a lot of times these are some plugins that I commonly use on my guitar bus. The first one is Renaissance Axxe. I like to use it in dual mono, this way that the plugin is reacting to each guitar differently. So they're coupled, so if I make a change to one, it'll make the change to the other. So I got a really slow attack on this, but you're gonna hear that it just adds, it just makes the guitars more in your face. Next one is Wow Thing by Corniff Audio. I would be lying if I tried to explain exactly what this plugin does. Essentially, it was modeled after some type of piece of hardware that was used in the 80s and 90s that wasn't even meant for guitars, but some brilliant producer started using it on guitars, and it made them sound wider in the mix. And to be honest with you, I just heard good things about it, tried it out, and I love it. What I like to do is this just a pinch preset is kind of my starting point, and then I just dial the dry wet all the way down. I turn the plug-in on, and then it just makes the guitars just sound better. Then I got one more instance of EQ here. Again, this is off right now. Not too shabby. Last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to just deal with a little bit more of the harsh highs. For those of you guys that don't know of the DSEQ3, this is basically Saturn, but just in a different, by a different manufacturer. So I like to do the master highs preset, and I kind of just dial back the threshold until I like the way it sounds, and the selectivity, you know, pretty sharp. I like going here. So let's see. Let's start with it way up, and then I'll dial it in. So if you want to hear what that's doing, I'll solo this out. I'll toggle it on and off. So now that we did all that work, let's see if we made the Peavey rage. Here we go. Is it my favorite guitar sound in the world? No. But getting a decent tone out of a 30-watt combo amp that's 30 years old, not too shabby. So what did we learn today? You can still get decent sounds out of subpar gear if you know what you're doing. Decent is being kind. I was able to get the final tone that I got because I've had a lot of practice with damage control. People always ask, do you mix bands that self-record? And the answer is yes. And sometimes I get sent good quality audio files. But most of the time, I don't. And it's not the band's fault. They just lack experience. It takes thousands of hours to learn how to dial in a great guitar tone and capture a great performance. So when I mix bands that self-record, most of the time, I'm spending a lot of time adding herbs and spices to a bland dish. And the song will still sound good. But when a band comes to the studio and records every note within these four walls, that's when the song comes out best. Your sound, your performances, your song quality, everything is going to be top notch. Whenever possible, it's always best to get it right at the source. And if you put your project in the hands of a professional that you trust, that's exactly what's going to happen. If this sounds like you, if you've been recording your band at home and you're not 100% happy with the way your music's turned out, you may want to try full-service music production. That's pre-production, recording, editing, mixing, and mastering. If that sounds interesting, go to riffhavenaudio.com, answer a few questions to see if we're a good fit to work together, and if we are, I'll hit you up to talk about your project. That's it for this week. Rage on. Later.